Welcome to Beyond the Ridge, Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center's web series, bringing you interesting stories of race, religion, medicine, and war from the 19th century and beyond. My name is Codie Eash, and I serve as Director of Education and Museum Operations at Seminary Ridge. Well, when it comes to Beyond the Ridge, this is, to date, the furthest that I believe we've been beyond the ridge. I'm about 1,000 miles south of Gettysburg on the Gulf Coast in Mobile, Alabama. Specifically, I'm standing in Bienville Square, a mid-19th century park named for Jean-Baptiste Le Moyne de Bienville. And it is at this park that in 1964, for the centennial commemoration of the Battle of Mobile Bay, the monument behind me was erected to the soldiers of the United States and the Confederacy who were engaged in one of the most decisive and significant naval contests of the American Civil War. Well, you might be wondering what this has anything to do with Seminary Ridge, but there is one direct personal connection, and it is in the form of Lieutenant Aaron Jerome, famously the signal officer who utilized the cupola of the Lutheran Seminary on June 30th and July 1st, 1863, alongside Brigadier General John Buford, the commanding officer of the 1st Division of United States Cavalry. And after Buford died in December 1863, Jerome is going to be reassigned in 1864 to serve not with the United States Army contingent of the U.S. Signal Corps, but rather with the U.S. Navy. And Jerome will find himself here on a ship, the USS Bienville, the same namesake as this park, during that decisive naval contest on August 5th, 1864.
Although some sources document his birth as a year earlier, Aaron Brainerd Jerome Jr. was likely born on June 27, 1839, in Talladega, Alabama, about 250 miles north of Mobile. His father, Aaron Brainerd Jerome Sr., died less than 1 month after Jerome's birth. His mother, Eliza Craig, also died within a few years, leaving young Aaron Jr. as an orphan within the first decade of his life. In the 1850 census, he appears in the household of Alonzo and Sophia Brackett, in the town of Orange, New Jersey, about 16 miles west of New York City. In addition to the Brackett's own 2-year-old son, in that census record, Jerome resided with 6 other children comprising 5 different last names and a 40-year-old woman, suggesting it was either a boarding house or orphanage. Aaron Jerome enlisted in the 1st New Jersey about 1 month after the start of the Civil War, making him one of the first 1,000 men to volunteer as an infantryman from the Garden State in 1861. He served with that unit throughout Northern Virginia, the District of Columbia, and on the Virginia Peninsula through the spring of 1862, consistently earning high praise for his observation capabilities, leading to a formal transfer to the U.S. Signal Corps later that year. During an assignment aboard the USS Aroostook during the Battle of Malvern Hill, 2nd Lieutenant Jerome earned a commendation from Major Albert Meyer, the Chief U.S. Army Signal Officer and de facto creator of the Signal Corps. This and other instances of courageous skill during the Peninsula and Maryland campaigns, and at the battles of Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville, earned Jerome a promotion to 1st Lieutenant, the rank he held at Gettysburg in the summer of 1863, where he manned signal stations at both the Lutheran Seminary and Little Round Top. Following the death of General Buford, Jerome opened 1864 with an assignment in the naval contingent of the Signal Corps, including a tenure aboard the USS Cricket during the Red River Campaign in Louisiana and Arkansas. Captain Frank Marston, Chief Signal Officer of the Department of the Gulf, credited Jerome for meritorious conduct that April, particularly for having directed fire from an exposed point within short range of the enemy's musketry, receiving a slight wound. The occasion marked at least the 2nd time Jerome had been wounded during the Civil War, the first having come during the U.S. cavalry's pursuit of the Confederate Army after Gettysburg. By the summer of 1864, the U.S. Navy set its sights on the more than 400-square-mile Mobile Bay, feeding into the Gulf of Mexico as one of 2 major southern seaports still in Confederate hands at that time, the other being at Wilmington, North Carolina. In early August, supported by infantry under the command of Major General Gordon Granger, U.S. Rear Admiral David Farragut maneuvered a fleet of Federal ships toward the bay, defended by a trio of Confederate forts, Morgan, Gaines, and Powell. In the days leading up to the pivotal battle, Aaron Jerome re-entered the waters of his birth state aboard the USS Bienville, a wooden steamship built in 1861, alongside 2 signal flagmen. Though she was stationed outside Mobile Bay, behind Fort Morgan during the battle on August 5, 1864, the Bienville aided in towing several vessels into the harbor beforehand, ships that would ultimately play major roles in the engagement, including the USS Tecumseh, mere hours before that monitor struck a Confederate mine and sank. Following the Battle of Mobile Bay, Chief U.S. Signal Officer Albert Meyer, who had been heavily involved in federal communications plans throughout the Gulf region that summer, instructed Lieutenant Jerome and the Signal Corps team on the Bienville to arrange for night signals, use lanterns if danger with torches. In the days that followed, the ship transported Confederate prisoners from Fort Gaines, which surrendered on August 8th, and Fort Morgan, a pre-Civil War federal installation captured by rebel forces and regained by U.S. troops following its surrender on August 23rd. Likewise, Jerome and his flagmen were present for the Bienville towing the surrendered rebel ironclad CSS Tennessee, which was immediately claimed as a United States ship and joined a federal fleet within weeks. The city of Mobile, Alabama, would not itself surrender until the following year. Later in 1864, the USS Bienville maneuvered out of Mobile Bay and down the Gulf of Mexico to participate in the blockade of Galveston, Texas, albeit without Aaron Jerome for much longer. On September 20th, 1864, Jerome's term of enlistment in the wartime volunteer U.S. Army ended, as a result of which he resigned his commission. The Bienville remained at Galveston until the following spring, when, from April 6 to 13, 1865, the ship moved from New Orleans via Mobile around Pensacola and up the Atlantic coast to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for repairs. Had she remained at Galveston only 2 months longer, the Bienville would have been present for Gordon Granger's General Orders No. 3, announcing the freedom of all enslaved people in Texas, better known as the Juneteenth Proclamation of June 19, 1865. Following the Civil War, the United States Navy sold the USS Bienville to a private firm. She served for 7 more years as a commercial steamship, ultimately being destroyed in a fire at the Bahamas in 1872. Aaron Jerome rejoined the regular U.S. Army in 1867, earning promotions from President Andrew Johnson and General-in-Chief Ulysses S. Grant, for gallant and meritorious service during the war, and for gallant and meritorious service in the Signal Corps during the war. Jerome, now a brevet captain, served for 3 years at a host of military bases throughout Arizona and New Mexico, before he was honorably discharged in December 1870 at his own request. For the next decade, he appeared on censuses and voter registration rolls at several residences in San Francisco, California, with occupations listed sporadically as soldier, lawyer, and clerk. He died under unknown circumstances at San Francisco's Occidental Hotel on April 17th or 19th, 1881, at age 41 or 42. His initial burial at the Oddfellows Cemetery was washed away or cremated, along with at least 500 other bodies during the San Francisco earthquake of 1906, and his remains were never found. He is now honored at Green Lawn Memorial Park in San Mateo County, California, accompanied by the names of 26,000 other former Oddfellows Cemetery burials.
If you find yourself in the Gulf region, be sure to check out some of these historic sites that pertain to the Battle of Mobile Bay and the Civil War overall throughout this region. Thank you for tuning in to this installment of Beyond the Ridge, bringing you interesting stories of race, religion, medicine, and war from the 19th century and beyond. My name is Codie Eash. We look forward to seeing you on the Ridge soon.